You asked, we have answered. It is time for
motorcycles.
Toolsnbikes. So this is my brother's bike, brought up this morning by my brother. Say hello, look, there he is. To kick off Daniel's great idea
the motorbike series.
Toolsnbikes, we're going to do this. So this is a bobber. Bandit?
Yes, this is a Bandit 600 that's been...
A Honda Bandit? Is it a Honda Bandit?
Fucking Suzuki.
Suzuki Bandit? So Bandit 600, custom frame, hardtail.
Yeah, that's a rough, that's going to be a rough old...
But the background of this, my brother's had this for like nearly a decade and it's not really moved. And the reason being, he couldn't get it to start, and then life, children, other bikes, everything got in the way. But this is his bike, this is his Supra for context, right? So what he wants is for it to run and then he can get back into it, but he's just ran out of motivation with it. So I was like, look, we're thinking about doing bikes, so let's do some bikes, bring it up.
We've got a set of carbs there that actually look quite good. Yeah. All the diaphragms and stuff in them look fine.
There's an amount of spares with this. Carbs obviously been one, fuel tank.
Yeah, so usually with these sort of things, if you've got carbs especially that have been sitting for a long time, first thing is check the forks are not stuck.
Yeah.
So we'll take the bobs off, just check they're all fine. It looks like the diaphragms are okay, but we'll take the bowls off, see what's what, and then that eliminates the fuel side. And then what we need to do is we've got a kind of stack of loom
bag?
Yeah, we actually have a loom bag.
You know, it's a family affair when it's
loom bag involved. These are a fairly simple thing. The old carb Suzuki's basically had like a wee ignition box that it takes a pickup from the kind of stator and then runs. It's nothing fancy compared to like, you know, modern standalone ECUs and stuff. So basically the first thing we're probably going to try is just to put power to it and actually turn the thing over and see, do we get a spark? Then we can move on to the fuel and see if we can get it going.
Making something start 101. Not too long ago, I was contested by this man as to why I keep putting the Nintendo Wii music over any bit of chat he has. So just before I pressed the camera on to record, we had...
How is this the Wii rendition?
Because that's all you sing, which is why we do it. Anyway, we are now, I'm not gonna lie, like 3 hours into this.
Yeah.
And it's, as you can see, more than likely going to be an electrical problem. All of the fuses were humped for a start.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a red flag.
Yep. And then we started going through all the earths. There was various, like all the stuff for the starter. We had to kind of go through, try and sort that out.
And we've also learnt a lot. We've learnt a lot about how these wiring things work. It's not quite like a car. And normally you get a kicker wire to the starter with a car.
Yes.
This just sends volts through.
Yeah, these just send battery voltage. As soon as you hit the start switch, you just bridge a wee relay and then you put power straight to the starter.
So what we've managed to do, anyway, we've got it to crank, which I think, given 4 hours in the state of the bike, is not a bad thing. So it cranks and turns over, which is positive. We're getting a bit of a poor resistance through the clutch switch.
Clutch switch was like, it was like over 100 ohms. So again, it's one of those ones, probably need a clutch switch or just clean that one up. But
obviously we don't have a battery, so
yeah, car battery.
But what we've managed to uncover after joining many broken wires, when you plug this in, it pops fuses
across the coils and the start switches. They're all linked, so they all take the same feed, and they all had like 1.7 volts.
Yeah,
that's never really good.
That's a sign of a bad earth, bad connection somewhere.
There's a bad connection somewhere. So what we discovered was that if we did feed 12 volts to that shared connection, everything all of a sudden would come to life.
Yes.
Which is good, because we know that then the switches are good, you know, everything's working. Whenever you've actually got power through the circuit and you plug in the little ignition module, you just immediately pop the fuses.
Yeah. So just to clear things up, that's not just in the ignition module though, is it?
No, it's also the relay for the side stand switch.
Yeah, so when you put the side stand down, obviously you have reasons why you can't move the bike.
Yeah, so it cuts the ignition, which is obviously controlled by this module.
That relay is linked to the ignition. So when
Yes.
you bridge that out to go, look, don't worry about the kickstand, it just melts everything.
Yes, there's a short inside this box that when you actually do activate it, it just immediately pops the fuses. We're not even going to attempt to try. I mean, look
There's
at, you know,
many repairs needed here, just to be clear.
it's
right?
literally not
You'll
worth.
see there's a few wires we've had to bridge out just because they're fractured, there's bad continuities, etc.
Yeah, there's absolutely no point in trying to even, you know, repair this.
Nah,
for the sake,
for the sake of like
30
30 quid, which
Yeah.
is what a donor good loom is.
Yeah.
We'll just get a loom on it. It has been a minute, by the way. This has sat for quite a while because of other things. It's getting in the way, so let's move this process along to a running bike. And that's one of the interesting points that I feel I should discuss while we're waiting for Daniel to arrive and moving on to the fixing stage of this. This is a bobber. Now, what is a bobber? Well, there's a wide variety of different bikes, and I'm explaining this for those like me who are normally into cars who are watching Tools and Track going, but why? Well, because bikes. So a bobber is typically a cruiser that's been chopped down for faster use. Probably isn't. I mean, this is my interpretation of it. And what you'll find is you get a more aggressive seating stance on it. So see, much like a cruiser, you have front pegs, you have a nice comfy seat, and you're raked a lot more forward riding like this than you would normally be on a more upright cruiser. That's a bobber, in my opinion. But you've also got, more often than not, the hardtail. Now, I mentioned this earlier on in the episode and kind of skimmed over it. This really needs an explanation. So, what a hardtail is, you'll see that the back seat post has a wee shock absorber type of suspension thing on it, and that is to provide you with some form of cushioning. Because what this bike doesn't have, unlike a vast majority of bikes, is any form of suspension in the back whatsoever. Now, that is where it gets its hardtail. The tail of it is hard mounted. And you would think, well, you know, I've had bikes like that when I was younger, pedaling around, what's the problem? Why can't you just stand up if you go over bumps? Because you don't do that in a bike. What my brother has done is quite craftily, ingeniously incorporated a little shock absorber here, which you would think, actually, yeah, that's quite a good idea. In my opinion, the problem with this though, is that it's hinged at the front. So your back bump stop, the bit that bounces up and down, that gets some cushioning. But the family vegetables at the front, they don't really get any. Not my cup of tea, but the whole point of hardtails is it's a classic, pretty beef and butchy way of riding a bike. So if it's a thing you're into, you're going to have to accept that it's going to be a bit uncomfortable. He's arrived. Right, so let's make this thing work.
Yeah,
so we've
got
got a box of loom.
Oh, it's in loom box and loom bag.
And loom bag, maximum loom. So just to recap, we decided to not bother even testing the ignition module because clearly it was pumped and it was non-serviceable.
Yeah, we took it apart and it was just a mess. So it was one of those ones that. How much was this?
That was like 60 quid.
Yeah, so there was literally no point in trying. I mean, look at it.
Nah. Whip this off, whip that on.
In theory, it should all just work.
In accordance with getting a bike to run, I have also went and obtained 5 litres of fresh fuel, which we will put in the tank and get the old fuel out. We'll have a quick look at the carbs as well, but for the moment, get some electricity to the nodules.
Yes.
The nodules will not make volts.
What do you call them? Volt straws?
Volt straws. The volt straws are not transmitting electrons to the nodules. Things have escalated because of eBay. So what we've been supplied with is a loom that almost entirely fits until you get to the f***ing important bit.
The main loom connectors are their own plugs. But the thing is with these model changes, they've obviously moved where the wires are on each connector. So there's the same number of wires, all they've done though is they've moved from like this pin on this connector to they've added it to this connector. For instance, on this one we've got a 3-row with 2 extra on this yellow one, whereas on this one we've got 2 less on here and 2 more on the black connector. But they're all the same wire colours, so we're just going to deep-in them and just swap them onto the connectors. And Suzuki were pretty good with wire colours doing the same things. So
to show our commitment to this though,
yeah, I'm just going to slip this because this is too much hassle holding this one.
we are officially ending that old loom.
Yeah.
Right,
So
now let's add this plug and play. Plug and play.
as everything we work on, it's, you know,
Plug and play.
It's always plug and play.
Plug and play.
Between a father and a son, between the city and the world, before the teacher and the test, before the journey and the rest, shining eyes.
So, current status is we've repinned the ignition loom.
Yeah.
We still actually need to join the earth.
We need to join that. Yeah, there's one remaining wire which clearly was part of something else, but
Yeah.
we've established the next plug is actually for all the lights.
Yeah.
So we sack that shit.
We don't need to worry about that. I mean, this one's got a quick switch, which is 2 black and yellow wires, which this one actually doesn't have. So it might be that
Doesn't need it.
this loom is old enough that it didn't have a quick switch fitted. So
So sack that.
we'll try it and just see.
All the fuses on the new loom have been checked. We have put volts in and nothing has went pop.
That's good.
Yeah, we'll
start.
take these out.
Just to see if it turns
Just
over.
take these out.
Oh, we've got ignition.
That's good. Still doesn't turn over.
We do still have a connector though here. We've got a couple actually.
Right, okay.
Let's find them first.
Right, it is late. That's my first excuse. We weren't getting a crank because we literally just said we need to join that green and yellow.
Yeah, we did join it.
So we joined it, and what do you know?
Yeah.
It does the thing. So next up, we're going to check for a spark,
Yeah,
which
this
looks
is
a bit
wasted spark like your MX-5. So we've got
wasted sparks in the MX-5.
Every spark,
go now?
every spark in an MX-5 is needed. It's all
So-
good sparks. They're all good sparks. There's no waste.
there's 2 coils that fire 4 cylinders, right? So what we're going to do is we've got this one hooked up to this coil, and then what we'll do is we'll flip over to here and just check they're both working.
Spark.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's fine.
Camera didn't pick up very well, but it does it.
So that's good.
Right.
And oil pressure light went off as well. So,
Excellent. So it's getting oil pressure.
so all we need to do now is get the plugs back in, and then we're going to get the carbs on.
Well, let's get a look at the carbs.
We'll have a look at the carbs first. That's a good point. Yeah. Let's check them over first.
People just like it. You want me to? You want me to do? I'll do some B-roll of you. Look, just here's Daniel. B-roll. Daniel. B-roll. Right.
I just done it.
I was about to say, look, we're about to take the bowls off. Just take it off.
Just take it off.
So there's your float. Underneath that, obviously, apart from being sprung, there's a wee needle in there. When that goes, these are upside down, obviously. When it goes low, fuel can come in. When that flow goes up, fuel will stop going in. So, dink. Obviously, these will be imperative. The fuel not leaking all over your
Yeah, I mean, you could.
lovely bike.
We'll need to place at some point. It looks okay, doesn't it?
Seems to be. There's no. What you want to be looking for here is obviously fur, signs of corrosion, oxidization from stagnant fuel. These all actually look really. Oh, where's the touch?
What you also want to check with these is usually these are the kind of plastic ones with the wee caps on them. So you just want to check that
The caps are on
the
them.
caps. Well, yeah, because what a lot of time happens is if they are leaking, they'll fill with fuel and then they'll sink.
They will no longer float.
And then you'll end up with fuel just pouring everywhere. It's not.
They will unfloat. Well, the next stage is going to be put these back together, and I'm going to have a wee quick discussion about fuel tanks. So whilst Daniel was doing sterling work pinning out that, I decided to make myself useful and deal with emptying out the fuel from the fuel tank. I just took the plug off and left it to drain on the floor. There is no fuel in the fuel tank. Which does beg the question, was there ever fuel in the fuel tank, and could this be why the bike never started? Place bets now. Place bets now. But there will now be fresh fuel in the fuel tank. You can isolate them. As you can see, there's a wee valve there. It's currently set to on, just to prove that there was never fuel in the bloody thing. But yeah,
we will need to ensure that valve does actually produce fuel out the outlet before we plug said outlet onto said carbs, which will live here. Now we're not going to put the fuel tank on because if it doesn't work, we obviously need to take it all back off again. It's a whole rigmarole, so we're just going to rest it on top, maybe a cable tie or two to be really bold. But we just want to make sure the gravity, there's no fuel pump, gravity will just let the fuel run into the carbs. So as long as it's above it, we should be okay for a first fire at least anyway. I'm sorry I can't press play in time for you to just start warbling on.
Do you want to B-roll this first?
Fucking B-roll you. Anyway, what we're doing here is taking the diaphragm covers off the top just to check the diaphragms are intact.
Right, so
We weren't really going to do this, but Daniel seems to think it's
no, it's really important. Right? So see if you've got CV carburetors, right? SUs are slightly different because what SUs use is they actually use the fitment of the piston to create the seal, which is why when your SUs get old, the car runs rubbish. But Strombergs and most kind of Kian, McKinney, all kind of CV stuff, they use diaphragms to seal the piston into the bore. So basically when you've got high vacuum in the engine, you start obviously pulling more air through, this will actually raise up. So you get a constant air velocity,
Yes.
which is what makes the fueling really, really good. Airspeed's high, atomises the fuel really good, thing drives really, really nice. That's why you find cars and bikes with CV style carbs will drive really, really nice, or ride really nice, but that's good. There's a spring in there. That's why a lot of time you have a problem if you've got like a car with big Webers, like DCOE, like 40s with big chokes and stuff in them. The thing will be, if you've got a choke sized for really, really good up top, the thing's a bit kind of doughy and lumpy and not very good at low speed and light throttle stuff. That's the problem that you get with Webers, is a kind of trade-off, because if you mash the throttle open at kind of lower engine RPMs, the problem is the airspeed's not there. Yeah. You've just cracked the plate wide open and the airspeed slows right down.
It bogs down.
And the fuel it's not a nice atomization at all. Whereas these, the idea with these is if you crack the throttle open, this slider or piston in the SUs and stuff like that will actually go against the spring and it'll actually keep the airspeed about the same. Mm-hmm. So you get really good atomization.
So whilst your throttle is fully open, the carb dictates when it gets fuel regardless.
Because the piston has actually got the jet, the needle in it, that also controls the fueling.
Meters it better.
Yeah. You cannot have a bike that isn't smooth and doesn't have a really, really nice, throttle tipping and stuff. On a car, it's maybe not as big a problem.
Yeah.
But on bikes, it's a big problem, because if you've got it banked over, you're in the corner and you start tipping the thing in and it's not smooth. It's a real issue. So that's why you find that bike carbs have that, and that's why a lot of people put them on cars because they're, once you get the fueling set right, they're relatively low maintenance.
Yeah, and they're also better on cars than bikes. I wonder where Brian's got to.
There's Brian.
What the fuck?
What even is that?
The Brian theme. Fuel tank, 5 litres in, it's all hooked up. Basically we're at go time.
Aye, we just need to open the fuel tap and check that it's not going to just flood the carbs. We think they're okay, but we'll open it, give it a couple of minutes, check the fuel doesn't pour everywhere, and then try and make it go.
This is exciting. Yeah. Right, we're not leaking, we've got fuel. We'll try it. Right, ready?
Ready, they haven't.
Ready?
Let me choke it.
That was fucking easy, wasn't it?
That was a good start.
sounds healthy, runs well. There was a bit of smoke off it, but it's mostly that ridiculous heat wrap that's probably covered in 5 years worth of oil.
Yeah, it was all. There was the engine in terms of coming out the exhaust. It was clean as a whistle. There was no smoke out the exhaust or anything. It's just everything that's caked on the engine, really, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, runs well, warms up nicely. Seems to be okay. We've got a couple of things we're going to just finish off with the lights.
Yeah, we've not done this. We just done the connector to actually start the thing. So this is the one that does everything on your kind of left hand switch gear, so all your lights.
So I have two choices about how we end this. We can either carry on with the mundane stuff and hand the bike back, or we can time lapse this and introduce the next project bike.
Yeah.
And it's going to actually come down to how much I can be arsed waiting before I put this episode out. When you buying a bike?
Oh, I don't know. That's in the pipeline, yeah. But we still need to finish from there.
I'll get a BMX in the shed if you want that.
We still need to finish it from there. So.
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what the next plan is going to be for this. I'm tempted to just run through and finish it all. And like Daniel says, we can get the lights on and get it all running right, but my remit for this, and I have promised my brother this one, I'm going to get it running. It's his bike, it's his project. It fires up the runs now, so by rights, should really go back to him. But that doesn't mean to say it's going to be the end of motorbike content, because, well, I know a Daniel, and it's never done with bikes when it comes to Daniel. So for us at the moment, that wraps up Tools and Bikes. Tools and Bikes? Might need to think of a better name for that. But if you've enjoyed this, like I say, it's not going to replace the content, it's going to add to it. So, you know, like, bell, subscribe and all that jazz. Patreon.com/toolsandtrack, run up the side of the screen if you want to support a bit more than that. And obviously, if you're into bikes and you like this, share, because nobody shares anymore. Why does nobody share anymore? I don't know. Do you not like it? Who knows? But I think you at least owe us a share if you've watched it to this point. Anyway, that's going to do for now. Until the next bike episode though, ride safe. You know, because I always say drive safe, ride safe. Don't know. We'll see if it catches on.